Hello everyone, good afternoon. So all those who haven't joined yet, may please do so. Let's meet once again. Good afternoon once again to all of you. This is Pradip Sir, your BA mentor and guide, and you are on BYJU'S Exam Prep, India's premier online test prep platform. A solution to all your questions, a solution to all your problems in terms of all the examinations that you are aspiring to write next year. So I just would like to see how many of you are present. And first of all, let me know if you people can hear me all right. Am I audible to you? Am I visible to you? And are we streaming smoothly? This is something which I would like to know from you all. Are we streaming smoothly? Yes? I think we are streaming smoothly. And if at all yes, please let me know. Okay. So I will just take 10 odd seconds more to get the ball rolling so that the others can join quickly and we can have a very interesting session today. So let us start talking a bit about what have we been doing over the last couple of days. Now we have been meeting on a regular basis every week and we have been talking about different aspects of grammar. And this is a very interesting session that we started for you people. It is subject verb agreement, a very important uh, unit of the spotting the error and the sentence improvement category. And I think grammar plays a very important role when you want to crack exams like the CUET, the IPMAT exam, the BBA exam. So any sort of exam that you want to crack, the entrance exam that you want to crack, in 2023 post your class 12. So these sessions are going to help you in a big way to understand the nuances. And if you know the concepts, this helps you to understand the fabric of the sentence where you have to spot the error and pick the right answer choice, isn't it? So with that being said, let us start the session. Earlier on in my previous classes, we discussed, in fact, there were two dedicated sessions on the concepts based on subject verb agreement. And in the last session, which was not very old, we just had that session last week only. And we talked about some very important questions, the examples of question sets that you will find in subject verb agreement segment. And today I am going to bring to you the part 2 of subject verb agreement practice questions. And since we have already discussed the concepts, we are going to hit the questions, and with the help of the questions we will try to understand the various concepts which we might have discussed earlier, and if not, we will discuss them along with the questions and the concepts. All right, so let us start the session on subject verb agreement part 2 practice questions. And first of all, let me request all of you, if you do like the session, don't shy away from pressing the bell icon and subscribe our channel BYJU'S Exam Prep and share it with your friends. So that gives us the boost and the encouragement and the motivation to bring you the best of the best content. All right. So on that note, let us start the session. Okay. Since we have been talking about so many concepts, बहुत सारे concepts के बारे में हम लोगों ने बात करी है. So आज का पहला क्वेश्चन हम एक कंपैरिजन से शुरू करेंगे. वी विल टॉक अबाउट सर्टेन कंपैरिजंस. ओके, किसी भी सेंटेंस को हम कंपेयर कर सकते हैं और रिलेटिवली दोनों सेंटेंस में क्या डिफरेंस आता है, अ लॉट डिपेंड्स ऑन हाउ वी आर रीडिंग द सेंटेंस and what we understand after reading the sentence. A lot depends on that also. Now you have two very similar questions, right? I want you to read the sentence first of all. Read both the sentence and tell me if you have been able to find out the difference in these two sentences. You just have to tell me the difference between these two sentences. All right. So what is the question? The question says, prominent among the volunteers from the NGO was or were. So we have to choose between was and were. Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete and Carol. So this was A. And B says, prominent among the volunteers from the NGO was or were Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete and Carol. This is part B. So you people might have observed that these two are virtually the same sentence. But is there a difference at all when you compare these two? I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds to read the sentence carefully and then we will talk about it. Okay, so have you been able to find out the difference between these two sentences? So let's go back to the basics. The basic says that the verb must agree with the subject in number and person. When I say number, I mean the singular or the plural number, which means if the subject is singular, you must use a singular verb. If the subject is plural, you must use the plural verb. So based on the same concept, can we read these two sentences? The first sentence tells us prominent among the volunteers from the NGO. So there is an NGO, right? उनमें से कुछ volunteers निकल के आए और उन volunteers में से कुछ prominent names हमारे सामने आ गए. All right? Thomas, Pete, and Carol. Right? In both the sentences, you have Thomas, Pete, and Carol. Now the question over here is, who encourages whom? कौन किसको encourage कर रहा है? Right? अगर ये तुमने find out कर लिया, so answer भी आपका easy हो जाएगा. So what are we supposed to find out? We are supposed to find out whether we are going to use the singular verb or the plural verb in both the cases. Isn't it? So let's understand who encourages whom. कौन किसको encourage कर रहा है. So if you read the first sentence, it says Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete and Carol. The second sentence also tells you the same thing. Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete and Carol. But watch out. There is a comma over here. There is a comma over here. Now, what difference does it make if the sentence is punctuated? So, when the sentence is punctuated, a comma can change the entire set of sentence, right? It can change the entire set of meaning that the sentence would like to convey. For example, in the first case, right, if you read the sentence carefully, you will see that Thomas is being encouraged by Pete and Carol, which means Pete and Carol, right, is one party. Pete and Carol together are encouraging Thomas. How do you know that? There is no comma over here. But in the second sentence, now read the sentence carefully, and it all depends on the pauses also. Prominent among the volunteers from the NGO was or were Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete, pause, and Carol. It means in this sentence, Pete is encouraging Thomas, but Carol is not because there is a comma, which means Carol is another volunteer like Thomas. But in the first case, Thomas is being encouraged by Pete and Carol. Why? There is no comma. So in the first case, Thomas is a singular volunteer. So we are talking about singular volunteer Thomas, and that is why the verb should be was. But in the second case, Thomas is being encouraged by Pete only because there is a comma and Carol is the second participant. Which means in the first case, we have how many participants? We have one participant. But in the second case, we have two participants. That is why in the first case we have used was, but in the second case we are going to use were, because were, this verb would talk about Thomas and Carol. Okay, so this is what a comma can do to a sentence. I hope it is understood. So that is why this should be the answer. Prominent among the volunteers from the NGO was Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete and Carol. But in the second case, prominent among the volunteers from the NGO were Thomas, who was encouraged by Pete, Pause, and Carol. So this tells you the real story. So whenever you try to find out the subject and the verb, try to read the sentence very carefully and watch out for these punctuation marks, and that will help you to understand the sentence in a much better way. You will have a better perspective. Okay, so this was the first question for us. I hope you people have understood. एक और question देखते हैं चलिए. All right, let's look at the second question. It says, find out which part of the sentence has an error. Mark no error if there is no mistake. Let's read the sentence carefully, the question carefully, and then we will try to figure out the options. Let's get going. Hey Pawan, good afternoon. How are you? Welcome to the class, dear. All right, so what is the question? The question is, he never wants people to think that his happiness or his success originate from anyone or anything but God. Where is the subject? The subject is he. Let us find out. He is the subject. And let's talk about the verb used. Verb will be the predicate. He never wants. So he agrees with wants. Now let's check. What is wants? It's a singular verb, isn't it? It's a singular verb. And what is the subject? He is also singular. So does wants agree with he? Yes. So there is no problem with this part. Now let's read further. To think that his happiness or his success, happiness or success originate, this is the second category, originate from anyone or anything but God. He does not want people to think that his happiness, the source of his happiness is something else. He wants to tell people that my source of happiness is God. All right. Now, if you look at the subject over here, happiness, success. Now, what is happiness? Happiness is a singular subject. Let's say it is X. Now, when I say X, it would mean singular. If I say Y, it would mean plural. Most of my students know when I say X and Y and what it stands for. But the moment I say XY or YZ, these two denote plural subject. So what is the concept? The concept is we have two singular subjects, happiness, success, X and Y, joined by or. So the concept was when you have two singular subjects connected by or, it must take a singular verb. Once again, two singular subjects connected by or must take a singular verb. So in this case, happiness Success, two singular verbs, X and Y, right? So what should be the verb? The verb should also be singular. So don't you think the answer should be originates? Because originate is a plural verb. And we are talking about singular subjects in this sentence. So singular subjects will take a singular verb. And that is why we must say originates and not originate. And that is why the answer option should be 3. 3 has a problem. In place of originates, you must add an S to make it singular. All right. So this was question number 2 for us. I hope the concept is clear. All right. Go through the concepts very carefully before you start solving such questions. All right. Okay. Can we look at one more very quickly? Let's see. Okay. Now this question tells us it is not the tenants but the landlord who decide the monthly rent for the premises. Tell me the option. If you think 1 has a problem, the option is 1. If it is 2, landlord who decide the monthly, 2, rent for the premises 3, and no error is 4. What is your option? Good afternoon, Shreya. Welcome to the class. So let us look at question number 3. Can you tell me what the answer option is for you? Is it 1, is it 2, is it 3, or do you think this sentence has no error? What is your thought process? Okay, now let's talk about question 3. एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, उस कॉन्सेप्ट के ऊपर थोड़ा पहले बात करेंगे. Okay, it is not X but Y. It is not XY but Z. Shreya has keyed in option number 2, and Shreya, you're absolutely right. Congratulations. Okay. Or it is not X but YZ. अब इसमें होता क्या है? ये जो नेगेटिव है ना, not, it is not X, it is not XY, it is not X. The verb does not agree with the negative of the subject. The verb agrees with the positive of the subject. So हमें क्या देखना है? But के बाद क्या है? But के बाद जो भी subject होगा उसके साथ verb agree करेगा. मतलब in the first two sentences the subjects are singular, so the verb used must be singular. But in the second case, YZ, the verb is plural, so we must use a plural verb over here. The subject is plural, so you must use a plural verb. So it is not the tenants, मान लेते हैं this is XY, but the landlord, which is Z. So landlord is singular. So the verb used must also be singular. So in place of decide, we must say decides. You have to make the verb singular. So decides the rent. And that is why the answer is 2. 2 has a problem because we have a plural verb over here, where we should have used the singular verb because the verb should have agreed with the landlord and not the tenants. All right. So this was question number 2 and very beautifully answered, Shreya. Congratulations. Can we look at one more? It is getting very interesting. Okay. Let us now look at question number 4. The team is trying their best to channel the frustrations into motivation, and they still need time to gel. Read the question carefully before you answer. The team is trying their best to to channel the frustration into motivation, and they still need time to gel. क्या आंसर होगा? जल्दी से बताइए. Okay, discussion शुरू करें. Let us see what the answer is going to be. Now, in this particular sentence, can we locate the subject? The subject is team. और team क्या है? Team is a collective noun. All right. Now, let us see what the rule says. The rule says that a collective noun generally uses a singular verb. A collective noun generally uses a singular verb. Shreya is saying for maybe. Let us see, Shreya. Let us see. However, if a collective noun shows any kind of division, मतलब उसमें यूनिटी खत्म हो गई, राइट? एनी काइंड ऑफ डिविजन, एक ही टीम में अलग अलग लोग अलग अलग काम कर रहे हैं. इफ इट शोज डिविजन, राइट, इन सच अ केस plural verb should be used. Now look at the sentence. It's a very tricky question, right? बड़ा temptation आएगा. You will be tempted that one should be the answer, or there is no error. The team is trying. Wonderful. Their best. Now, what is singular? But the moment you shift your focus on the second part, look at the pronoun. We are using a plural pronoun. Do you agree with me? Right? The team is trying their best to channel the frustrations into motivations, and they still need time to gel. Now look at the use of the pronouns over here. Their and they. Now they is also plural. अब ऐसा तो होगा नहीं कि 2 में भी एरर है और 3 में भी एरर है, राइट? सो यहाँ पे हमें ये देखना है कि इस सेंटेंस में कलेक्टिव नाउन को ट्रीट कैसे किया गया. क्या इसको एज अ सिंगुलर ट्रीट किया गया? क्या इसको एज अ प्लूरल ट्रीट किया गया? सो इफ यू रीड द क्वेश्चन प्रॉपर्ली यू विल गेट द आंसर. द आंसर इज over here, team, which is a collective noun, इसका treatment क्या है? Plural, because of the pronouns being used over here. Their and they. Since in this case we have used collective noun as a plural subject, so क्या इसका use सही है? I think you know the answer. वैसे easy होना चाहिए था if collective noun were treated as singular. लेकिन इस केस में collective noun को हमने कैसे ट्रीट किया? Plural, because the pronouns used are plural. Hence, the answer option should be 1. is नहीं होना चाहिए. यहाँ पे होना चाहिए the team are trying their best to channel the frustration. You may ask this question, sir, is wrong? No, is not wrong, right? Collective noun does take a singular verb, but in this sentence, Since the treatment of the collective noun is plural and we know this by the kinds of pronoun they have used, that's why we should mark R. All right, and that is why 1 should be the answer. Shreya, I think it is clear to you, right? The treatment of the collective noun in the sentence will ensure the kind of verb that we are supposed to use. All right, so this was question number 4 for us, guys. I hope this question is clear. So ये जो trick है, इसको ध्यान में रखने की जरूरत है. You have to understand the tricks. All right, okay. Quickly, let's move into the next question. All right. The question is, the nuptials were solemnized with such demonstrations of joy that nothing else were discoursed of. All right, this is the question. Let us understand a few meanings over here. Nuptials, reference to marriage, was solemnized, right? The marriage took place with such demonstrations. Demonstrations means show of joy, okay, that nothing else was discoursed of. That और किसी चीज के बारे में हमने बात नहीं की. We did not talk about anything else but the marriage. The nuptials were solemnized with such demonstration that nothing else was discoursed of. Basics पे चले जाते हैं. Subject, nuptials, verb, were. क्या ये सही है? Let us see. Nothing else, second. Was discoursed. Is it all right? So these are the two questions which we have to answer over here. Nuptials were, nothing else was discoursed. All right. Now always remember, when we talk about nuptials, although the reference is to marriage, but the treatment is plural. And we know what to do when the subject is plural. If the subject is plural, we should use a plural verb. So in this particular sentence, nuptials were, so there is an agreement, so there is no problem in the first part. In the second part, nothing else. Now, this expression, nothing, is always singular. Okay, nothing else is singular. So the verb used was is singular, so there is no problem with this agreement either. So the first agreement is fine, the second agreement is fine, hence the answer option should have been 4. There is no error in this sentence. All right, so the subject verb concord, either in the first case or in the second case, is absolutely beautiful. It is perfect. This sentence is flawless. There is no error whatsoever in this sentence. So this was question number 5 for us. I hope you have followed it. Right? Okay. So let's move into the next question very quickly. Okay. Let's read question number 6. This is also a very interesting question. Please key in the answer option. क्या हो सकता है? So question number 6 tells us, one of the memories that stands out the most in my mind is related to something that happened to me in the 4th grade. So, memories of the past is what we are talking about. What is the concept? The concept is, whenever you have this expression, one of the, right? One of the will always take a singular verb. Okay? One of the will always take a singular verb. All right? However, there is one more thing to watch out for, right? And that is, one of the, Shreya says, I think there is no error. Let us see, Shreya, if this has an error or not. Okay? Always remember, after one of the subject that you will use is always going to be plural. Like one of the cities, one of my friends, one of the people, one of the teachers. Similarly, one of the memories. So this is plural. All right, itna clear? So one of the, some of the, few of the is always followed by a plural verb, a plural subject, a plural noun. Okay, a plural noun. एक और चीज, after this plural verb or a plural noun, we use a relative pronoun like who or which or that. Okay, and the rule is, this relative pronoun, it always agrees with the plural noun. This pronoun agrees with the plural noun. So if the noun is plural, the pronoun has to be plural. If the pronoun is plural, in that case we must use a plural verb. Right? For example, one of the memories that what stands? What stands? Memories. What is memories? Plural. So why do we say stands? We should have said stand. Okay, one of the memories that stand out in the most in my mind is related to. Now again we have a second verb, is. Now is refers back to one of the. Is refers back to one of the. That is why this has no problem. But there is a problem with this structure. That is a pronoun. What does it agree with? It agrees with memories. And what is memories? Memories is plural. That makes that plural. Hence, this verb should also be plural. And therefore, the answer should have been 2. This was again a very tricky question, right? A plural verb and followed by a singular noun. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not follow this concept of yours, Pawan. Shreya, I believe you have understood. Pawan, I believe you have understood. So this was the concept that was tested in question number 6. All right. I'll give you one more example. For example, if you say, she was one of the few guests who was or were present in the party. She was one of the few guests who were or was present in the party. Now pay attention to this who. Who refers to? Guests. Guests is plural. That makes who plural. And we should use were over here and not was. Right? Is this funda clear to you? And that is why 2 should have been the right answer option over here. So remember these tricks. And it boils down to how carefully you read the sentence. Right? Remembering the concepts is important. आप कितना concept याद रखेंगे? There are around 10 to 12 odd concepts on subject verb agreement. So how do you remember these concepts? When you apply them and try to solve questions based on these concepts that we are learning, right? Everything boils down to a very careful reading and analysis of the sentences and then applying the rules one by one. Keep a very, very cool head when you attempt such questions. Okay? At times they get tricky, and if you miss out one of the points, then probably we will end up marking the wrong answer option. All right. So this was question number 6 for us. Let's look at another set of question pattern. Now, this set of question pattern was on spotting the errors. Now we will look at the options that give us grammatically correct sentences. Okay, we have to choose the ones which are correct. All right. Okay. The question is, choose the option which is grammatically correct and expresses the meaning of the sentence. Look at question number 7. We will do question number 7 together. Okay. A significant, yes, Shreya, absolutely right. It was verb. That was for the previous question. A significant way by which the community influenced the actions of its people is defined as social control. What they have done, they have taken up a few answer options which are correct or which have been rectified. A significant way by which the community influenced the actions of its peoples is defined as social control. One says, is defined as social control. Correct? A significant way by which, correct, influences the action of its people, or no correction required. What do you think should be the answer? A significant way by which the community is a singular subject. But what are we saying over here? Influence? Don't you think there is a mismatch? The subject is singular and we are using a plural verb. So don't you think we should have said influences? Right? A significant way by which the community influences the actions of its people is defined as social control. Which option gives you this correction? Option number 3, influences. Why? Because the subject is singular. Hence, in this question, the answer option should have been influences the action of its people. The rest don't need any improvement. They are already correct. Okay. So C gives you the correct version of this part. Hence, C should be the answer. I hope you have understood what exactly you're supposed to do with these questions. Isn't it? Okay. Yes, Shreya, absolutely. It is option 3. Now let's look at the next question, and you are on your own. We will talk exactly in a couple of seconds. Read the question and then we will discuss the correct option. Okay, so let us see what question number 8 tells us. The Pepsi culture, coupled with its nexus with burgers and pizzas and the evergreen Bhel Puri barons, have destroyed hygiene and healthy eating in a child's life. So you know how children are. They drink a lot of Pepsi and Coke, and along with that, they also consume burgers and pizzas. So that actually disturbs the hygiene of a child. All right. Now, what is the subject? The Pepsi culture, right? Is it a singular subject or a plural subject? It is a singular subject. Okay. Now, there is a rule that goes behind this sentence. There's a concept based on it. Let us understand the concept, right? Now, you will find such concepts or such sentence structures in your grammar book, like X as well as Y, X together with YZ, XY coupled with Z, or X along with YZ. Now, whenever you come across such structures where you have multiple subjects of different numbers, one singular, one plural, so what do we do in such cases? Okay, please make the verb agree with the first subject in number and person. मतलब ये हो गया कि तुम्हारा जो भी पहला सब्जेक्ट होगा, राइट, उसके साथ वर्ब अग्री करेगा. जैसे पहले दोनों केसेस में पहला सब्जेक्ट सिंगुलर है, एक्स एक्स. तीसरे केस में द सब्जेक्ट इज प्लूरल. फिर चौथे केस में द सब्जेक्ट इज सिंगुलर. सो वॉट एवर द सब्जेक्ट इज, उसके साथ अग्री करेगा. इट सेज द पेप्सी कल्चर, राइट, coupled with its nexus with burgers and pizzas and evergreen Bhel Puri barons, have destroyed the hygiene. Now, hang on. We are talking about Pepsi culture, which is singular. Have to ho nahi sakta. It should be has. And this option is present in one. Has destroyed the hygiene and healthy eating in a child's life. That's why one should be the answer because it correctly uses the singular verb and it agrees with the Pepsi culture. Hence, the answer option should be 1. All right? Yes, Shreya, absolutely right. It is answer option 1. So this is also another way of asking questions based on subject verb agreement concept. All right. I hope it is clear to everyone. Let us move on and look at the next question. Okay, have you read the question? The question says the armed forces needs to be kept under control, but their work as well as their commitment to the national cause needs to be appreciated, especially when Jawans and their officers rise beyond the call of duty. Right? What is the subject? Number one, the armed forces. All right. And where is the verb? Needs. Okay. Is there any other subject present? Yes. Commitment to the national cause. And where is the verb? Needs. Now, in the second case, the subject is commitment, right? Which is singular. Hence, the verb used, needs, is absolutely fine. But in the first case, you're talking about armed forces, which is a plural entity. It is a plural subject, armed forces, right? So it needs a plural verb. There is no need of S over here. It should only be need. Isn't it? All right, Shreya. Got it, got it, got it. So the armed forces need to be kept under control. And it is present in for, and that is why your answer should be for, need to be kept under control. So this question is also quite easily done. So words like forces, right? Police. These words must always be considered plural. Some words are always considered plural in English grammar. So, for example, forces, police, these words are always plural. All right. So this was question number 9 for us. Let us look at one more. All right. Now look at question number 10. This has a different structure. Some of the parts have been underlined and they have been numbered also. You have to find out which part has a problem. The information of the accounting policies followed by the company while preparing the annual reports have been largely obfuscated. So what is the question? The information of the accounting policies followed by the company while preparing the annual reports have been largely obfuscated. Where is the verb? Have been. Now the question is what? This is the subject. The information. Now what is information, singular or plural? You know the answer. It is singular. So singular subject must take a singular verb. Are we using a singular verb? The answer is no. So you know what the answer is going to be. It is for. Why? In place of have, we should have said has been largely obfuscated. The verb used is wrong. So the information of the accounting policies followed by the company has been largely obfuscated. This was an easy question. And Shreya, you're absolutely right. The answer is for. Okay. So this was a fairly straightforward question, isn't it? Now, if you look at this question, now this question is a memory-based question, and it is based on a GIPMAT question. IPMAT, GIPMAT, the BBA entrance exam conducted for IIM Jammu and IIM Bodh Gaya. So this question is based on one of the questions which appeared in one of the IPMAT, GIPMAT question papers. Mr. Sharma, our CEO, accompanied by his secretary, have arrived at the airport. Is there any problem with this sentence? Okay, so let us identify the subjects. Mr. Sharma is the subject. X. Who is Mr. Sharma? Our CEO, accompanied by his secretary. This is also a singular subject. Have arrived at the airport. Now, how many of them have arrived? Two, Mr. Sharma and his secretary. Okay, but there is a catch. The catch is the way you are combining subject 1 and subject 2. What are you using? Accompanied by, right? Whenever you have expressions like accompanied by, assisted by, helped by, right? We don't take them into consideration. In such cases, we actually go back to the first subject, that is subject number 1. If it is a singular subject, we use a singular verb. If it is a plural subject, we use a plural verb. In this case, we are referring to Mr. Sharma, and that is why the answer should have been 4. Have is wrong. We should have said has. Although there are 2 passengers or 2 people, they have arrived at the airport. But since we have accompanied by being used over here, we must dance back to the first subject, Mr. Sharma, and hence we should use a singular verb over here. So it is very important for you people to know the concepts, right? Simply knowing the concepts will not be sufficient, but yes, you have to do your basics right. And once you know the concepts carefully and you have your crystal on the concepts, then apply the same concepts on solving a number of questions. Remember, we have to practice a lot when it comes to subject verb agreement questions, so that any question that you see, you should be able to answer them in a fraction of a second. बहुत समय हमारे पास नहीं रहेगा, because these exams are speed-based exams. So you have to work on the speed. And speed comes only when you know the concepts and you know how to apply them on the questions that you read. So this was the end of subject verb agreement. In my next section, I will be talking about a bit on the tenses, their uses, and what kind of spotting error questions you face when you talk about concepts based on tenses. Till then, keep studying, stay tuned, do like our session, comment on the session, share it with your friends, and subscribe to BYJU'S Exam Prep. And don't forget to hit the bell icon. So with that note, let me say thank you and bye-bye to all of you. You have been a lovely audience. Share it with your friends and see you people in the next class. Goodbye and take care.